I heard that your first meal of the day should just be protein and fats, and you shouldn't put carbs in till later.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
I don't see any benefit or reason to that. I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, thermodynamics reigns. All you're doing is
Would that fall into carb sensitivity in the morning?
What's that?
Would that fall into carb sensitivity?
Yeah, but I mean...
They said it was, since like, having fats first thing in your body, that's the first thing your body's going to want to burn. So by putting carbs in later, you're going to use your carbs for glycogen and not being burned, right?
But yeah, but all that really does, I mean, then you're burning fat primarily in the morning as opposed to burning fat. I don't think it makes a difference. I mean, I know the arguments for it, and
yeah.
It's...
I see a lot of articles on
it's the new fad, and that's the thing is, websites have to come out with new articles, magazines have to come out with new articles, and I've written for both of them, magazines and websites, and I've had to come up with new groundbreaking nutritional strategies that, you know, in 10 years no one will be doing that. It'll be a new, I mean, it's not going to hurt, or I don't think it's going to make a noticeable difference as far as your physique. But I can pretty much guarantee in 10 years that won't be a common act. I mean, it's not going to hurt, but I don't see any. I mean, at the end of the day, it's, you know, calories in versus calorie out, and you want to make sure there's periods of the day where fat is your primary energy source. You want to make sure there's periods of the day where, depending on whether you're trying to store glycogen or burn glycogen, but I don't follow that approach. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't think it's going to make a noticeable difference.
So like vice versa, would you want to, like your last meal of the day?
Yeah, well, again, the last meal of the day, it depends on what you're doing. If your goal that day is a high carb day and you're trying to restore glycogen, that last meal of the day, go ahead and still have carbohydrates. If you're trying to burn fat on those days, it's your hypocaloric days, the last meal of the day, I tend to not have carbohydrates in. And now, it's really not that big of a difference, but if we have that chunk of the day and our basic metabolic rate's here and our calorie intake is slightly above it, if we did have that slightly above it from carbohydrates, those carbohydrates are going to spike insulin, and even some of those carbohydrates, because all nutrients can get stored as fat. What happens is you take carbohydrates, they get converted to triglycerides, which then get converted to fat and stored. Protein goes to gluconeogenesis, gets converted to carbohydrates, gets converted to triglycerides, and then gets converted to fat and stored. Fat can get stored as fat directly. And so if we eat carbohydrates at last meal, and we think we can eat this many calories before we start burning fat, but somehow I messed up and gave you too many calories at the last meal, and there was carbohydrates in those meals, then we're probably going to store fat. So it's just safer to have no carbs in that meal or less carbs. But if your macronutrients are dialed in perfectly, it really probably doesn't matter. Yeah.
What do you think about a little insulin spike right when you wake up? Like a half cup of food?
Insulin spikes can be very beneficial for muscle gaining. I don't think that's the most opportune time for it. I would do it around your workout. And there's a big debate in the bodybuilding community about insulin. And is insulin anabolic or not anabolic? We know insulin stores nutrients. The actuality of it is that insulin is not directly anabolic. Insulin doesn't create protein synthesis. What insulin does do is it increases amino acid uptake. And so now we have an insulin receptor, right? And so insulin comes around, floats around, and binds to that receptor. This cell is going to take more amino acids in. Now say I work out chest that day, and now say that receptor is in my chest. Well, there's a trigger in my chest right now to create protein synthesis. And so if I have those insulin receptors bound, they're going to take more amino acids up in that area. And since protein synthesis is already triggered, the insulin didn't trigger it, it's a separate thing. But because it's already triggered, that insulin will increase the amount of protein synthesis that occurs. So I would put the insulin spikes around your workout. Will it make a huge difference in the next 6 weeks? Probably not. Over the next 6 years? Yes. And that's partly why I have this during my workout, which has carbohydrates. I'm trying to spike insulin around my workouts. Now the other problem with spiking your insulin though, it does increase amino acid uptake, which could potentially increase the amount of muscle you build. The problem with insulin is it's a central nervous system depressant. Everyone knows Thanksgiving dinner, what do? You eat a bunch of food, a bunch of turkey, and L-tryptophan makes you sleepy, right? It's not the L-tryptophan, it's the insulin. It's an insulin called insulin's a central nervous system depressant. Does everyone know why L-tryptophan is supposed to make you sleepy? L-tryptophan is the precursor for serotonin. Serotonin is like the love hormone, and that's where that originally came from. And while I'm talking about neurotransmitters, what are you guys' opinion of aspartame? Artificial sweeteners, does it make you gain fat or not?
All I know is
I've heard no, it flushes it out. Your body is not supposed to absorb it.
Right.
No, it absorbs it perfectly. It breaks down into 2 amino acids. One of those amino acids is phenylalanine. Phenylalanine gets converted to L-tyrosine. L-tyrosine is a precursor for dopamine, L-dopa, which then gets converted to dopamine, which then gets converted to norepinephrine and epinephrine. Norepinephrine and epinephrine are the adrenaline hormones. So if you're actually going physiologically, aspartame's a fat burner. It's not going to have that big of an effect. But no, aspartame doesn't make you gain weight. What can happen is aspartame is sweet, and sweet foods can make you want to eat more, and you might eat more calories as a consequence. But that's an indirect effect. That's like saying marijuana makes you fat. Marijuana makes you have the munchies, which then might make you fat. But and actually, while we're on that topic, marijuana could potentially be a fat burner. There's a lot of studies going on that right now. Well, think who's the classic pothead, like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, right? He's skinny, right? And think of all the potheads you knew in high school. Were any of them big fat guys? No, they're all like skinny, gangly guys. And no one really knows why. There's studies actually going on right now looking into THC as some kind of metabolic enhancer. Because you think, because people get high and then tend to eat a lot, but potheads don't tend to be really fat. Potheads are skinny, long-haired, I don't know, the typical pothead, I guess.
While we're on that subject, alcohol consumption, if you're trying to gain weight, is that going to make an effect? Is that going to protein synthesis?
No, it really doesn't. Well, there's 3 different weight calorie marks. Protein and carbohydrates have about 4 calories per gram. Fat has about 9 calories a gram. Alcohol has 7 calories a gram. Now, alcohol is not going to affect really anything as far as gaining muscle, your weight training, outside of maybe having a hangover. But and does anyone know why Asians get really bad hangovers? They don't produce alcohol hydrogenase. There's an actual hormone that breaks down the alcohol that they don't really have. They tend to not have. And so the alcohol turns into formaldehyde in their body, which gives them really bad hangovers. And there's new studies out that show 20 to 25% of people produce so much of that alcohol hydroxylase. I can't remember if it's hydrogenase, hydroxylase. Maybe hydroxylase. Yeah, hydroxyl group is an alcohol. Alcohol hydroxylase. 20-25% produce so much of it that they're basically incapable of getting a hangover. But outside of that, the only negative effect is that you're ingesting 7 calories per gram from the alcohol that doesn't want to be used, that isn't a protein, isn't a carbohydrate, and isn't, so it's not a good energy source. So basically all those calories are going to get stored probably as fat. But other than that, it's not going to harm anything. Yeah.
One more, Justin. I have PTSD from Iraq, as you well know, and I got a medical marijuana card. It doesn't do that effect to me, like the eating, it gives most people the munchies. I just do it whenever I get stressed out or whatever. Is that hindering in any of my workout?
No, really it shouldn't. And people respond to it differently. And there's a bunch of studies that show it can be a performance enhancer, and there's a bunch of studies that show it hinders performance. And so I think it's really more individual. But no, there's no calories in it. If it doesn't change the way you eat,
right.
And if anything, if smoking makes you want to get on the treadmill, where say there's no way I'm getting to the gym, I feel like crap, I'm all stressed out. If smoking makes you change that view and go, I can get to the gym now, it's going to help. And, yeah, my opinion on that is I think the medical community, and I'm not a doctor. My wife's actually a half doctor. She's a dentist, but but my opinion is the medical community totally screwed up on marijuana years ago, and they're starting to correct that now.
All right, thank you.